Hey y'all, welcome back to In the Kitchen with Baker Girl. Thank you, Jesus. It's another beautiful day to be in the kitchen, and I'm inviting you to step in the kitchen with me as I work on a batch of sourdough bread. Now, this is my levain that I start the night before, and you let that ferment for anywhere from 10, 12, 14 hours. As long, it depends on the temperature, ambient temperature. And my dough has bulk fermented. So I've mixed it, let it bulk ferment, and now I'm in the shaping stage. Now I have shared with you start to finish sourdough tutorials on my channel. You can check those out if you want to. I have a masterclass series on how to bake your own sourdough bread. So this is just taking you in the kitchen with me and showing you kind of what my day is like as a baker. There's flour everywhere. The kitchen is quiet because when I'm shaping sourdough bread, I get very quiet. And it's very repetitive, so it's same motions over and over again. But I'm going to slow it down. Right now I'm working at normal speed, but I'm going to slow it down, and I mean really, really slow it down and show you exactly how to shape sourdough bread. Now, the shaping of this depends on the hydration of your dough. So, if you notice, I'm doing the slap and fold shape technique. This works if you have, if your dough is at a very I hate to say perfect hydration, but a spot-on hydration. So, as I say, I've slowed this down into slow motion. So you can see how I slap it down and then quickly fold it over and rotate it. And then I'm just rotating it. Add a little extra flour in your hands if you need to, and just rotate it. At this point, you're creating tension. And so the first step, you're creating structure. At this point, you're creating tension. And you just do that until you shape it into a ball. This is pre-shaping. All sourdough bread must be pre-shaped. Otherwise, you'll just have very sad, flat loaves. If you struggle with shaping, you can slow this video down even slower. There, I'm back to normal speed. But I thought it would be interesting to show you how to shape it in slow motion. So you can see exactly you're using all 10 of your fingers, and each one of your fingers have a different job. So your thumbs do one thing, your index finger, your pinky, all of your fingers have a job when you're shaping sourdough bread. That may sound silly, say obviously your fingers, but no, seriously, once you start shaping sourdough bread, especially if you have a good hydration. My dough is usually like a 75% hydration. You can go higher. Now this dough has, it's a hybrid of wheat and rye. So your hydration changes depending on the flours that you use. So I let it bulk ferment. After it rests, I let it bench rest for about half an hour. You can let it go a little bit longer, but don't overdo it. Again, it depends on the temperature of your dough. If your dough is at an ideal temperature, which as we learned in the masterclass series, it should be right around 76 degrees. But if your dough is cooler than that, you need to let it bench rest for longer. If your dough is warmer than that, you need to let it bench rest for shorter. So all of that depends on the temperature. That's why having a thermometer is really handy. So now the dough has bench rest, and now I'm giving it its final shape. So I'm going to show you that again. Each one of these steps is what really give you a well-shaped loaf that just doesn't, you don't get a flat loaf. You get a nice oven spring. So I'm doing a two-fold for the first, just like you would fold over, to fold over a towel. And then roll it away from you up, just like you're rolling, like a kitchen towel or something. And then roll it again. All of this is giving you structure in your dough. This is particularly important if you don't use any sort of vessel to bake your sourdough bread in. If you're baking yours on a baking sheet or baking stone or pebbles, you definitely need to work on your shaping. Otherwise, if your bread is not correctly shaped, it will be a sad flat pancake. So practice your shaping. And if your dough is resisting, you need to let it rest a little bit longer. Now, I've got the first batch of this hybrid rye wheat sourdough. All of them are in their bannetons. These are round. I also do batards, which is kind of like the ovals. Now, this is these little plastic shower caps. They're not shower caps, really. They're made for food. But and no worries about it. They are made for food, even though they're plastic. They don't really touch the sourdough. So technically, you don't really want sourdough hanging around plastic for a super long time because it's acidic. But these little shower caps are made for sourdough bread. So that batch of dough is off to the sourdough refrigerator. Before I move on to the next batch, you all know me and my cups of tea. I have my little tea break. I should drink more tea than I do, actually, but I try. Some days I can replace my coffee with tea, but most days I try to have coffee and then have tea. So this is the second batch. Now, this is straight wheat. So the first batch of dough is that hybrid wheat rye. This is just straight wheat. And if you notice, the texture of the dough is completely different. This is a bit more sticky, but very soft and velvety. You really don't want to add much more flour to this dough than absolutely necessary, because that velvet soft texture is exactly what you want. Don't mess it up by adding too much bench flour. If your dough is super sticky as this, it should be a little bit sticky. It's called actually tacky, not sticky. Your dough should be tacky because, again, it gives you those nice open air holes. So when you cut into it, it's like a honeycomb on the inside. And that has a lot to do with the fermentation, but it also has a lot to do with the hydration, because you have a more open, airish crumb. So I'm speeding along here because I have a lot of dough to do and the clock is ticking. You know, once you add water to that dough with the sourdough starter, the clock starts to tick. And you don't want to over ferment. You don't want to over bulk ferment. The sourdough can start to break down. But I like to work with my dough right around 76 degrees, as I've said in my masterclass series, and I hope you check that out if you haven't. Temperature has a lot to do with it, not just hydration, but temperature. Now, this is the next day. The dough has bulk fermented for right around 18 hours. So now I'm shaping, and I'm not shaping, I'm getting ready to bake, and I actually decided to shape some of my bread into pumpkin loaves. This took quite a bit of time and a lot of string, but it was a lot of fun. I actually had seen some people on TikTok doing this, and I thought, oh, that's pretty neat. Mind you, I have made a pumpkin-shaped loaf before. It's been a couple of years ago. And it was fun, but it was tedious. And then I decided to do a bunch of them, which was even more fun and even more tedious. But yeah, customers loved it. And I prefer the Dutch oven sourdough breads. You can kind of control the brownness a little better. But the string comes off, and then you have this very pretty loaf of pumpkin-shaped sourdough bread, which customers loved. And I hope you have loved this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And good Lord willing, I'll take you guys along with me for another day in the life of a sourdough baker. Take care, y'all. Bye.